Hi there, it's Jeanette. Thanks for joining me today. I am going to be sharing how I created these two cards with you. But before I do that, I thought I would talk a little bit about the die set that I used. This is Whimsy Stamp's Slimline Meadow die set. This is the main die in the set. So if you were to cut it out as is, this would be the shape that you would get. It is a nice slimline size. You would get that sort of opening cut out, and you would also have this nice stitch detail along the edges. It also comes with this die, which is a really nifty little die. I'm going to be sharing a little bit about that in a minute. You also get a tree trunk die. You get various sized shrubs, some bunnies, little mushrooms, stems for flowers. These are the dies for the flowers that you would cut out, so some little tulips and some little daisies. And you also get these clouds. So you get 4 different shaped clouds. So using all these different dies, you can create your own little meadow scene. I'm going to be putting these dies to the side now, and I'm going to talk about this die. So this is really a neat idea. If you take this and you position it in this way so that you have the straight edge along the top and you die cut it, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get this, the opening, and then you're going to have the shrubs on the bottom. So that's, I think, really, really cute. So that's if you keep the die in that position. If you now take the die and you switch it around, so you put it this way so that the straight edge is down towards the bottom, and you die cut it, you're going to get this. So you're going to get what is like a tree canopy. You've got the leaves here on the bottom, and here you have the leaves up on the top. And what you can do then is cut out the trees that come with the set. I cut out 2. And you can just sort of pop them there, and you can see what a cute little scene that creates. So I like this die set because really you have opportunities to change how it looks. If you don't use that little insert piece, you get one look, and depending on which way you put the piece, you get different looks. I like when I do this to put some little shrubs along the bottom to sort of hide the bottom of the tree trunks, but that also is not necessary. So I just wanted to share that with you because I thought it's really cool the different ways you can use it. So I went ahead and I die cut all the little pieces I thought I would need, and I like to sort of corral them in a little tray. That way I don't lose them, and I also keep my little die pieces in there so I don't lose them. And I just stick that to the side, and then when I need the pieces I can sort of fish through my little tray and find what I need. So let's get started with the first card. So I die cut some white cardstock using the small insert die, and now I'll just use the stencil to blend on some clouds, and I'll just move the stencil, rotating it so that I get a nice sort of fluffy sky. I really like using these blending brushes. They work so well. You get a really smooth blend, no harsh lines. So I'll set that aside, and I will do a little bit of blending on this as well because it looks a little one-dimensional, a little flat. So I'm just using a piece of scrap cardstock and putting it in the sort of openings, and that way I can blend some ink onto one part of the cardstock, and you get a little bit of a dimensional look that way. So I think that's really pretty. I'll do a little bit there on the bottom, and then I decided to do a little bit on the leaves of the tree canopy as well. So generally, if I'm not filming a video, I'm actually doing it right on my glass worktop. today I'm sort of blending on my mat, which is really not a good idea because it was getting a little bit dirty, and I don't want it to get too stained. So if you're doing it at home, don't blend right on your mat. Just try to find a smooth surface that is easily cleaned. So I used a couple of different browns on my tree trunks to get the depth that I wanted, and now I'll just sort of wipe down my mat. My card base measures 3.5 by 8.5, and I will just adhere it down with this tape. Now this tape is really great because you do end up being able to move things around. Like just now I realized that I had sponged the sky on in the wrong direction, but because I used this tape I was able to sort of pull it up and replace it. Once it's set for a few minutes, it really does stay put, but you do have a little grace period where you can sort of move the paper around. I'm going to just use this tool so that I can stick the tree trunks right up underneath the leaves there. And I pulled out a few of those shrubs that I had die cut, and I'm going to put those along the bottom, and I'm going to use this glue. It's a liquid glue. It's blue when you first put it on, but then it dries clear, and it's just easier to add the little tiny pieces with this glue. And I like to use these little tweezers because it just makes everything easier to position. I thought I was going to add some clouds. I decided not to. This is an image also available from Whimsy Stamps. I did create a Copic coloring video of how I colored this image, so I will link to that. It'll be in the description box, and I'll probably be able to link it at the end of the video as well. So now I'm just using all those tiny little die cuts, and I'm positioning the stems of the flowers and the little flowers themselves, and you can see how these little tweezers come in really handy to be able to maneuver all the pieces. And I haven't glued the central figure down, I just have her there so that I know where everything else should go, so that everything is nicely filled in. I thought those little bunny rabbits were really, really cute. And I really like the way this all ended up looking. So that was the first card, and now we'll move to the second card. So same thing, I sponged some ink on the green part, and there are the clouds. That's the original one that I had created and wasn't able to use for the first card. And here I decided that it would be nice if I had the little bunnies hidden behind some hedges. And I also thought I would put a sentiment on this card. So again, I've put the bunnies where I think they should be, and now I have the sentiments, and I'm sort of lining them up, making sure everything is in a good place. And I'll use my MISTI tool now. I can move those die cuts away, and I will now ink up the sentiment. Well, before I do that, actually, I'm going to use my little powder tool. It's an anti-static tool, so that way the embossing powder is not going to stick everywhere. I'm inking up the sentiment with some Versamark, and I did it a couple of times just to make sure that I got a really nice ink. And now I will sprinkle on the embossing powder and tap off the excess. And even though I used that anti-static tool, there were still a few areas where there's a little bit of powder sticking. So I just sort of brushed it off, reapplied a little bit of ink in areas that there wasn't enough, not ink, powder, sorry, and then I heat embossed it all. So now I can go back and start adding those elements where I want them to be. And again, using these tweezers really makes the job so much easier. And again, I'm using that Zig glue. It just stops from there being so much mess everywhere with glue and adhesive tape and everything. So I think those two little bunnies look so cute hiding behind those hedges. and then I will put some more flowers. This time I decided I would tuck them in. You can see that the grass edges are actually cut, so it's kind of neat to be able to tuck things inside them. So I tucked a few inside and I've kept a few outside, and that kind of makes it look very natural. And I think this is the last one. I mean, honestly, these are so cute that you could just keep going with all the different components. And then I just pulled out a few flowers. Basically, these were all the same die cuts that I used on the first card, but you could totally switch up the colors if you wanted. You could also color over this cardstock with some Copic markers to sort of change the color if you wanted. And I also kept all the little centers, so I'm putting the little centers in, pressing them down so that they stay put. So this figure is another Whimsy Stamps image, another digital image. And again, I did create a coloration video for you, so I will link that for you. I wasn't originally going to put a tree, but then I decided I was going to. And I didn't like how the little sort of shrubs looked there on the top, so I die cut the die again in green. And I'm just going to use that upper part as the canopy. And I think that ended up looking pretty cool. And again, I am going to adhere the girl down. I use both the adhesive tape and the liquid glue to do that. And that's about it. Oh yes, I decided I was going to put some more shrubs here because I wanted her to look a little bit more grounded. So I had already die cut some of these. I sort of blended some ink on a few of them just to give them a variation of color, and adhered those all down. And then my card was completed. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed watching me create these two cards, and I hope it gives you ideas on how to use the Slimline Meadow die set for yourself. As you can see, there's many variations. So have a great day. A full list of supplies will be below this video in the description box. Please consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell. Thanks a lot. Bye.